In today's video, I want to be debunking the modern notion of intelligence. And the modern notion largely is the idea that anything simple is stupid and everything has to be complex to be intelligent, and often even incomprehensibly complex. So I think this comes down to this like genius fallacy, where it's like if somebody's not a genius who has some super processing power in their brain, then whatever conclusions they come to must be incorrect and wrong and so forth. Intellectual dick sizing is a really big thing. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? This is where people try to show they have more processing power in their brain. They want to show that they have the higher IQ. And ways that this manifests, which are really common, are people add complexity on purpose. Because if you add more complexity, then it takes more processing power to analyze something, and you have to have a higher IQ to understand that, right? So this is actually counterproductive in terms of intellectualism, in terms of actually like discovering and understanding things. I think this is actually a really counterproductive behavior, and I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, so I actually have empirical proof what I'm saying is true. Let's look at scientific jargon. Okay, so they say that scientific jargon adds clarity. Now, it's not true. I wrote a paper for fun and I sent it to a mathematician and a logician. And I sent the paper in the plain English version, and I also sent it in the complex LaTeX version, right? And both mathematicians struggled very hard to understand the LaTeX version. One had to read it 3 times, and then they got it approximately on the 3rd time, and the other had to read it multiple times as well, right? And they still didn't understand it perfectly. The plain English version, they both understood immediately, instantly. So, you know, what is the point of all this technical jargon if it actually decreases comprehension? And it's not even more efficient, right? It's like less efficient, right? But that's how they want you to format something if you want to submit a paper to an actual journal, right? Those are the rules and requirements. So a lot of this stuff is really just dick sizing, I think. You know, it's like, hey, you can lift this weight. Well, let's lift it on Jupiter to show how strong we are. Well, my argument is the exact opposite. My argument is, let's do all our weightlifting on the moon so that we can reach our maximum potential, right? You know, if you can solve this hard problem on Jupiter, well, you could probably be solving a much harder problem on the moon where there's less gravity. You know what I mean? So, now I'm going to show you another example here. Take a look at like this maze, all right? This is something very complicated, right? So people are like impressed by complexity, but the reality is it's actually, the solution is very simple, okay? So when you have a maze like this, if you simply just follow the right wall or the left wall, just stick to the right wall or left wall, it's guaranteed to take you to the exit. You're following the perimeter of the maze, so you have to go to every single spot the maze can possibly take you, right? So that's really cool. That's in my opinion how good science should work. It should take things like this complicated maze and come up with a really simple algorithm, like just follow the right or follow the left wall and you're guaranteed to solve it, right? That's really cool. Now, by contrast, this is something like these chain puzzles are something that are very simple. Like it looks like something for a 4-year-old, right? And they're actually really hard to solve. You need to do really counterintuitive twists and pulls to actually get these things apart, right? So what I'm saying is, just because something is simple doesn't mean solving it is simple. And just because something is complicated doesn't mean solving it is complicated. A lot of the times, really simple things actually require a really deep perspective shift that is almost impossible to do. Okay, so for example, if you were born in a room where you only had blue light, there's only like blue light everywhere, the concept of red would be almost inconceivable to you. It would be unbelievably hard to actually comprehend that, right? It's not that easy to do a perspective shift like that, right? But for us, it seems so basic because we've seen red light, but you know what I mean. So when we establish these people as geniuses who most of us think that you have to be like John von Neumann and have like this photographic memory, or like Nikola Tesla, he had this like almost photographic memory. Most of us think you have to have this superhuman intelligence to come up with a good idea. But it's not necessarily true, okay? You don't need a lot of processing power necessarily to make a perspective shift. There's all kinds of ways you can invent really cool things without a lot of processing power in your brain.